In 1993, I was working in an AIDS service organization in State College. And if you're doing the math right, that was about 3 years into the HIV/AIDS epidemic in this part of the world. And it was not a great time. And we got the news in late winter that the NAMES Project AIDS Memorial Quilt was going to be in Washington, D.C. with a double feature. Also, the National Gay, Lesbian, Bisexual Rights March. I didn't forget a T. It was really hard to even get a B in there at that point. So that's where we were. And we're like, all right, we're renting a bus, the staff, all of our volunteers, we are going to D.C. So at that point, I had a 10-year-old kid in my life and her best friend, Molly, and they were like, D.C., I'm totally in. It sounds like a big party. It was. So we get on the bus and we take the bus to a metro station. Once we got on the metro, it was as if we had stepped into a different world where it was not an exception to be gay or lesbian. No, the entire world had suddenly become queer. I was like, oh my word. So we get off the metro, and when we emerge, it's amazing. It's like a carnival and a party all at once. And my eyes were just ready to just bulge out of my face because it were just everything I could hardly have even imagined. There were people in dresses and of all genders, and there were women on bikes in leather. That was a pretty great look, and so much happening. And suddenly my girls stop, and I'm like, what's happening? And they're like, and I turned, and there in front of me was like the most beautiful human being I had seen, about 7 feet tall, in really high kind of heels, in sequins. And they said, Maggie, sachet, Shantae. It was RuPaul. And RuPaul regally nodded at the girls, acknowledging their appropriate hero worship. So we made our way to the mall, and as the closer we got to the mall, the less it felt like a party. The mall is where all of the squares were laid out. And in our organization, we had made many squares for the quilt at that point. And we got there, and it was more like walking into church than it was being at the party we had just left. And all we could hear was what happens at a quilt display, which is the reading of the names of every name on every panel of the quilt. Robert E. Reed, Thelma Mix, Robert Ellers. The stark contrast of the party to the reality of the lives that were lost was breathtaking. So the girls and I made our way out of that after we stayed and listened to our panels. We visited the panels we had made on the quilt. And we're making our way back towards the metro station. And at this point, it's hot. So we've been all wearing our gear, our 100% dyke shirts, our silence equals death, the straight but not narrow. We got it all going on. But if you've ever been to a Pride event, people were wearing less and less clothes as the day went on. And that was a little outside my experience. But I'm like, you know what? It is really hot. And I think I could put this little red ribbon right here in my black lace bra. So off came the T-shirt, and on went the little red ribbon, and we're feeling kind of joyous and in community and loving that. And after a few blocks, I was stopped by a woman who I would have thought, she was an older woman, like about 20 years younger than I am now, but she looked older to me then. And she said, excuse me, honey, I'm not here for your right to not wear clothing in public. I'm here for my right to get married and to be recognized. And I said, I'm curious as to why you chose me to give this feedback to, because literally I was surrounded by folks similarly attired She didn't have an answer to that. And I didn't say then what I would say now. Like, actually, until we can all be free to express ourselves, to love who we love, to be in the world as our full selves, actually, nobody is free. What the fuck?